This is a pocketsofthefuture.com video blog.
Okay, so Carolyn's going to put the grains back in the jar.
So how often do we wash the jars, usually?
Once every, couple weeks. Really?
The jar itself actually helps with the kefir faster if it's,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of culture still in the...
You can use tiny ones or...
Those tiny ones will grow, yeah.
And I know some people, when they get really big ones, they break them into pieces, and then that gets them to grow more, perhaps because there's more surface area, I don't know. And then often when we're doing this, because this is kind of a lot of grains for this size jar, we put them out on a plate and put them on the table and just yell kefir grains, and kids come running from all corners of the house and start eating them like crazy.
Yeah, it's also basically a food source if you're...
Yeah.
After this, there's still a lot of kefir caught in the holes of the strainer. So I do that and it pulls the kefir out of my hand and I just brush it off.
Okay, why don't you hold that and I'll pour.
Okay. Usually what we do all the kefir first, and then we pour this off into jars. And then everyone has kefir in the morning and the afternoon.
So this is lovely kefir after 24 hours of fermenting. And then what will happen here is that we let this set out, until it's drunk really, but at least until the next day. Like you were saying, we drink it neat in the morning, first thing before any food, so it goes straight to the gut. And then also a little while before dinner, everybody has a small glass neat, plain with nothing in it. And so that secondary fermentation where it's out for a day or two or three out on the counter or on the bench, as they call it in Australia, again changes the nutritional profile of it. A lot of the nutrients skyrocket in the milk that second and third day, and it develops more flavor and whatnot. But we do this. We do about 1.5 gallons every day, and it's gone. So we never have any 2 days out on the bench.
Well, occasionally we get so sour we give it to the animals or something. They lap it up. They love it.
Right, and it's a living thing, and so it kind of comes and goes. So sometimes it's just another name for kefir is the champagne of milk, and we'll have periods for a week or two where it's just elixir. It's incredible. It's perfect. And then something changes. Maybe the weather changes, or the amounts of the milk and the grains change, and then we get this kind of thin sort of dribble for a little while. Put in a little cream. The grains really like cream, and kind of boost it back up. So it goes through a natural kind of an ebb and flow type thing. And we accept that, I think, as part of the natural. Well, there's some moments where we don't accept it, like you say. Yeah. We give it to the animals, but
sometimes it tastes a little off too. There's just something that gets a weird flavor or something.
And sometimes when it has been out a couple days, it totally separates. So there's all this white curds
yeah.
at the top, and then there's all the way. And if we strain it, that's how we make kefir cheese and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I make mascarpone, which we'll video,
right.
Which would be add more cream, and it's basically the same thing.
Right.
Kefir cheese, though, is best if we do it the first day. Because really, this is separate now. I mean, if we put this in cheesecloth, all the whey will drip out, even though it looks like it's basically milk.
Right,
the whey
actually,
it'll separate if we don't shake it in the next...
Right, and so if it does separate, when you're still drinking, all you do is shake it, and it comes right back like this. And I was just going to add that I've learned that this seems to mostly come from Eastern Europe, the Ukraine and that sort of area where the grains came from originally, I guess, as far as people know. And there, if it separates too much and it gets too strong, they don't call it kefir anymore. So, as in the case with many living systems, timing is everything.
But it's like a cheese then. I mean, it's thick. It's
yeah.
And now, do you know where the kefir grains come from, or do you want to talk about that? Or?
Well, I don't think people really know
Where they originated.
Where they're traditional and have been for a really long time. Like I say, is that Eastern Europe, sort of Russia, the Ukraine, that sort of area. And where Americans drink plain milk all the time, they don't. They drink kefir. Interestingly, on his website, Dom says that manna that's referred to in the Bible, apparently that word manna means mysterious white thing, and there are people who conjecture that it might actually have been referring to these grains. But
people keep them in leather bags and hang them over there.
Right, just like they did. That's right. The way to do it there is they might put it in a leather bag and hang it in a doorway, and then you can just sort of give it a little smack every time you walk by, because agitation is actually good for it while it's fermenting. So
pour the milk there. You pour the milk there.
Oh, okay.
These grains are a little bit different, more goopy. This one's
When I do the mascarpone, I add a great deal of cream to them, and the grains, that's where we got the most Kefir like that, the stringy Kefir, and the grains just grew that way in a long, sort of elongated way. But we found that the Kefir grains that we used for the mascarpone really took off and grew because they fed on the cream, the fat.
It was so much that we didn't know if there was something wrong, and I wrote in that there's a Yahoo list, a Kefir Digest that Dom runs, and so I had to write and ask, and then I was reassured that it was actually a good thing. So while she's doing...
That's when we found out about Kefir.
Right.
Yeah.
So while she's doing that bottle, I'm just going to show, this is all there is to it. We take milk, it's straight from the fridge, it's cold, 40 degrees, whatever, we don't do anything to it, and you pour it in.
You skim the cream first.
We skim the cream. You don't have to, but we do. That's it.
So that's making Kefir. That's how we make Kefir. Just pour milk
put
into
the top on. And we have a cupboard in the kitchen that's our dedicated sort of little fermentation chamber. So all the bottles go in there. The ones that are fermenting and the ones that are on the secondary ferment all go in that cupboard. And because also when you introduce other things that you're fermenting into the kitchen, especially with the milk products, they can cross-contaminate, and then you get sort of hybrid products that you don't want. So
we had fruit flies that were all over it, and you don't leave the, once you explain the top being off.
Oh, when it's fermenting, which is, at any time, actually, you don't put it on tightly. You put the top on so it's protected. But of course, fermentation gives off gases and things, so you don't want it tight. You just leave it on like this.
It affects the flavor.
Right. It makes it more, I think it gets more yeasty,
Yeah.
actually, when that's on too tight, and we don't like that. I don't think that's really very healthy. You only just have to remember, and all the children have to remember, that if you have to shake it, that you screw the top on tightly.
It's been shaken a few times without
Right.
the top. And then there's also fruit flies that we had, and I put vinegar in there because we heard that got rid of them, which it did. But it made the Kefir taste, remember that?
Yeah,
It affected
in the
it
summer, during the summer.
So it does,
Yeah.
whatever you put in there with it affects it.
Here, we can put some more in here.
But it's just rich, talk about the difference between yogurt and Kefir in terms of the amount of healthy flora, bacteria, healthy.
Well, all the good things that yogurt has, Kefir has more. The matrix in the grain, people still haven't completely come to an understanding of scientifically, but it has 30 or more kinds of bacteria and yeast in it, all of which becomes this complex brew, all of which helps to stimulate the immune system and populate the gut with friendly flora. So, of course you can't use it the same way as yogurt because it's drinkable. So we actually, we'll make yogurt sometimes because there's things we like to have with the yogurt. But the truth is that we're busy and I like to streamline. So a while ago I just kind of stopped making yogurt because almost anything I can use the Kefir for, except for actual yogurt dishes like raita and Indian food or something. I can't do that, but I bake with it and we drink it, and you can make it into smoothie. That's what a lot of people do. I don't know how many people drink it neat the way we do, but we just don't happen to do that.
We used to use it as a yogurt substitute when we made lassis, which is an Indian drink, and so we just, the yogurt's a little bit firmer, and there's a few more things that you can do with yogurt, but it doesn't have the health benefits.